Welcome, Navya.
Hi, hello. Thank you so much for having me here. That was a very kind introduction.
Thank you for being here, and I hope that this makes you feel at home, a little bit at home.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, so let's start this conversation by discussing something that's extremely close to your heart, which is Project Naveli. Um, what has inspired you to create this gender equal world?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. I think it's been a dream of mine to come onto this platform and get an opportunity to speak. So, very, very grateful for the chance. Project Naveli is, something we began, and I say we because I don't think I'm alone responsible for the work that we do at the foundation. We work mainly in democratizing access to healthcare, legal awareness, and entrepreneurship for women in India. It's been a very special journey for me and the entire team at Project Naveli because I think a lot of the conversations that we have at the foundation, a lot of the work that we do is something that I think young people in India should be more and more involved in. And very grateful to have incredible partners who've supported that dream and that vision. So, really grateful for the opportunities that we've had to democratize, like I said, access to entrepreneurship and healthcare, which I think are two of the strongest pillars that we have in our country today. And I think women, especially, are playing a leading role in those pillars. So, I'm very happy to be, a small part of that journey.
So, not a lot of people know this, and they often associate you with Project Naveli. Tell us something about Project Nimaya.
So Naya is an organization that I co-founded. Actually, my co-founder is here as well somewhere. So Nimaya is actually a very interesting thought that Samyak and I, my co-founder, came up with. We increasingly talk about technology and how it is changing the way that we live our lives and the way that we work. And of course, while that is a positive, I think that something that also worries me is how technology will impact the workforce of India, especially the young workforce. As you know, young people are a very large percentage of India's workforce, and I think technology, though, has brought about a lot of advancements in our lives, especially the way that we do work in business. I think there is also a negative side to it in the sense that we are hearing about it increasingly replacing human jobs. At Nimaya, what we do is focus on something that technology cannot replace, which is human intelligence. Um, I think young people increasingly bringing out our soft skills. The human side of us in the workplace is what will give us an advantage in the future to not be replaced by technology but work alongside it in the most productive manner. So at Nimaya, we have a program where we work with girls in colleges who are about to join the workforce and really enable them to not just build aspirational careers in India's workforce, but also prepare them for a very different kind of work environment that we're seeing today, where technology plays a very large part and how we can really, like I said, work alongside rather than be replaced by technology.
It's interesting that you're talking about this because, on one end you're talking about this entire new generation of Gen Zs and, also talking about workplace. Now, there's the biggest misconception about Gen Zs is that they don't want to put in a hard day's job. They are often working on themselves and, there's a lot of mental health breakdowns and all of that. I want to understand from you, how do you manage to navigate that kind of workforce and being Gen Z yourself? What are your thoughts about working hard and leisure?
See, I didn't know that was a misconception, but I would like to stand up for all other Gen Zs in India today. I think actually a very hardworking generation, and when you talk about mental health, I think a great topic once again that has increasingly come into the forefront, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. I think it's great that we're giving more emphasis to conversations around mental health. I also feel that Gen Zs, like I said, being a very large percentage of India's population, really are the future of the country, really are the future drivers of where this economy will go, where every industry will go. And I think that we realize that, and I think we recognize that the responsibility that comes with, and I think that's exactly why a lot of young people today are, dabbling in different things, different businesses, different platforms, which I think is a great thing. And I feel that it's increasingly important for us as a country to let the youth participate in as many ways as we can because this is our future to build, and I think we must play a very important role in that. Um, so yeah, I don't think Gen Zs are not hardworking. In fact, I would say it's the opposite,
They're hardworking and working hard on themselves.
which I think is never a bad thing.
Okay. So, where does this zeal and this enthusiasm to work for other people, to empower other women come from? Considering your legacy, did you never think that you wanted to be a part of that, but you wanted to carve something of your own? When did that happen? When did that switch and decision making happen?
I think, not just me, I think everyone has a legacy to carry forward. I inherited one, you've inherited one. I think everyone seated here today has inherited one. And we all play a very strong part, for the rest of our lives in living up to that and taking that forward. I'm doing my part in what I am most passionate about, which is entrepreneurship and business and more importantly, social impact. These are things that I have always been extremely inclined towards. And I think that's where I see my future and I see my efforts lie. Having said that, it was not a thought that, this is what I want to do. I think irrespective of the background that I come from, this would be something that I always wanted to do. So I don't think that background or legacy comes into play there. I think it's about me being an individual and me being a young woman in India today who wants to do my part in leaving society a better place than we found it. I think we all have a responsibility to do that, and I'm very fortunate that I get to do what I do every day, that I get to do what I love every day. That's not a reality for many young people today, so I think I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I get, and I try to make the most of them.
Yeah, you truly do. So you never wanted to act ever?
No.
Okay. So one of the banes of our generation, and I'm sure you agree, considering recently you were a part of this whole IIM thing when you posted that you got through and all of that. I want to understand, how do you as a person deal with online trolling, which is because our work today is up for commentary. When you put up a podcast, when I put up an interview, when I put up a conversation with someone, everyone has something to say. I want to understand, as a young girl who's running her business online, who has a successful podcast which is dependent on online success, how do you deal with trolls and negative commentary?
Firstly, I would say that social media has been a great platform because it's given a lot of people a voice. A lot of people who, previously might not have had that kind of platform or reach to voice their opinions. I think it's a great place for me as well as an individual to put my work out there. It's been a great tool that, if used in the right way, and I really want to emphasize on that, I think if used in the right way, really has the potential to bring about a lot of positive change. Having said that, and that you bring up IIM, I think extremely fortunate to be a part of such an incredible institution. I think, and I have always said this, I think India has some of the finest institutions in the world. And having now been a part of an institution like IIM Ahmedabad, I can say that I'm very fortunate to be getting my higher education at such a place under the guidance and teaching of, I think, some of the world's finest professors. So very, very fortunate to be a part of that family. Trolling, see, I think that I have made an active choice, an active decision to put myself out there, to put my work out there. And if I consider myself somebody who's working for people, which I do because of Project Naveli and the work that we do, I don't think I can be against or offended by things people have to say. In fact, I think it's important for me to look at what people have to say about me and my work. It will only make me a better person, a better entrepreneur, a better Indian. I think it's very important for us to take critical feedback in the correct way. So I don't take offense to anything that people say. I actually also accept that I come from a very different lived reality to most people in India today. I come from a very privileged background, and I have been given a lot more opportunities than, say, other young women my age. So I think, of course, people will have something to say about that, and I think it's important for me to be open-minded and take all of that feedback and do the best that I can with myself and my work. So I don't give too much thought to what people say negatively. I actually use it to do the best that I can in my journey.
So is it like water off a duck's back?
Sorry?
Is it like water off a duck's back and you will move on and you don't pay heed
Yeah,
to that negative
I think
comments?
I'm very focused on my goal. I know what I want. I'm very ambitious. I think that my responsibility is to myself and my work, so that's all I'm focused on.
So what does 2024 vision board look like for Navya?
2024, I'm studying, I'm doing my MBA right now, so I think that's really what is on the cards for right now is doing the best I can at such a competitive institution that offers so much, and that's really my goal. I want to do the best that I can and make the most of the next 2 years that I have there.
Because you will have this serious businesswoman look and attitude. I think a lot of people didn't realize that you're still a student, and I want to understand, how is Navya as a student? How is she in college? What does she do? Is she the front bencher? Is she the back bencher?
I have always loved learning, and I don't think it's ever too late to be a student. I think people at any and every age can be students, and I think education is one of the most valuable things that I've been given in my life. So I really, take that very seriously. As a student, I think I'm a front bencher, as you said. I love being involved in the discussions that are happening around me. And actually, I think the best part of being a part of this institution is that I have a great group of people around me. The batch mates come from different kinds of fields with different experiences, and I think that that's really going to help me grow as a person.
Wow, okay. So, there are a couple of worlds that you navigate. There is the podcast, there is your business, there is studies. I want to understand, how do all these worlds collide, and how do you successfully navigate these different roles that you do?
I don't know. I think like any other Gen Z, we have managed to master the art of multitasking. I think I'm very fortunate to have a great support system around me in terms of family, friends, and colleagues who really allow me to, wear the different hats. But I've always been somebody who has wanted to try new things. I like challenging myself. So everything I do, I take it as a challenge. I take it as a new learning experience. So for me, it's not really work. I don't think about how I'm going to manage different things. For me, it's more about how can I do more of what I do. So I'm actually very excited by that. I take it as a positive challenge to myself.
Did you not think that, okay, I'm going to start working once I finish all my graduation, or could you not wait to get into the working world?
So actually, the program I do right now allows me to work at the same time. So fortunately, I am still able to do all the things that I enjoy doing on a daily basis. And I think work is something that for me has never been as scheduled as you're talking about. For me, it's something I really enjoy, something I'm very passionate about. So I haven't thought about that so deeply that I won't be able to do this, or I won't be able to do that if I do my MBA. And I think, like I said, education is one of the most important facets of our life, and I'm very grateful that I'm getting an opportunity to become a student again.
So you are a multi-hyphenate, and that's something that I find very interesting about your personality. Is that something that excited you while you were growing up, that I'm going to not do just one thing, but I'm going to juggle multiple roles and do them all equally well, which is what I think you do?
I don't know if I'm managing to do them equally well, but yeah, I think like I said, I enjoy challenging myself and doing new things, and I think that's a very common trait amongst all young people today. I think that because we are living in a world that is increasingly giving us more access, I think we want to try new things. We want to, put our voice towards things that matter, and I think me, just like any other young person today, is doing that as well.
So what does an average day in Navya's life look like?
Well, right now I'm in the middle of classes, so actually after this I have to run back for a law class. But apart from that, of course, the foundation is something that takes up most of my time. I also work with my father at our family business, which is called Escorts Kubota. We're an agri-machinery company, so that is also something that really excites me, because I think that the future of manufacturing in India really is a very, very bright future, and I'm very glad that we play a small part of that.
So, I'm glad that you brought it up, because, on one end, you are this girl who's standing up for women's rights. On the other, you're talking to your nanny and your mom about female friendships on your podcast. Then you also have a tractor business that not everybody knows about. And I found it so interesting when I was going through your Instagram that there is a tractor page, and you proudly put it up there saying, this is what I do. Tell me, how does this all come together for you, and does it make you feel proud that you're still working at a grassroots level, but you're also part of society, which is a very different kind of a social setup?
Firstly, yes. Firstly, I would say agriculture is one of the largest economies we have in our country today. The industry is massive, the potential is massive, and it's one of the most important industries we have today. So I'm very fortunate, along with, of course, the entire organization, to be a part of an industry like that. What we're doing, I think, in the agri-machinery space is extremely exciting as well. I think there's a lot of potential with, how we move towards a more sustainable future, more eco-friendly future, and we as a company in the manufacturing space are increasingly emphasizing on how we can play a part of that future where tractors can contribute positively to the ecosystem. So that's a very exciting thing for me to be a part of. But no, I don't think too much about, what I do, like I said, because it's something that comes naturally. It's something that if you're passionate about, you don't put too much thought into it. I think it's something that flows very naturally.
Do you take any downtime at all?
This is a nice downtime to come and be
While
on
you're
a
working.
platform like this and talk to all of you and be here on stage with you. So this is something that is a great part of my day.
But on a serious note, what does downtime for you look like? Like, what do you do? What kind of books do you read? What kind of shows do you watch?
I enjoy reading a lot. I read a lot of books. A book that has kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things is called Invisible Women. It talks about how women in general are excluded from data and how that affects different facets of our lives. So yeah, I enjoy reading a lot in my downtime.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about your successful podcast. Firstly, I want to know, how did you come up with this name, What the Hell Navya? Is this something that they say a lot in your house?
No, so this, the podcast has also been a very special journey because I get to share it with my mom and my nani. I think the thought behind this podcast was that we create a tri-generational conversation around topics and themes that we think are very important, especially to be had on more public platforms, to be had more transparently. That's where the thought came from, and I think there's a lot to learn from, of course, the elders in our life, but especially the women in our lives. So for me, it's not really, it's more of an educational journey, sitting there with them and getting their views on different things. The name was actually because it kept coming up as we were recording the show, because I have my own views and I have my own mind and I have my own opinions. So that phrase really stuck, I think, by the end of the recordings.
Considering you are this very type A, grade A student, I was a little
I hope
surprised.
I'm a grade A student. I don't know about that. We'll find out.
Crossing my fingers for you. But what I wanted to, I was a little surprised. You said that you were this type A, grade A student, because on the other end you look like, a little bratish with this whole what the hell, Navya. Like a lot of us have this thing when we're trying to go out with our families, when we're trying to get people in our family together, even for one photograph, it's such a task, right? And consistently you've been able to get your mom and nani together on a podcast after another episode. So how does that work? How do you manage all of that?
I am very fortunate to have a family that's supportive of any and every crazy idea that I have. So they were very much supportive of this one too. They were on board with it from day one, and I think it wouldn't be what it is without the two of them. So I'm really glad that they wanted to be a part of this.
And the contrasting opinions and the contrasting conversations that you have is especially so juicy, because all of you all are from different generations talking about very diverse things. I personally find that very exciting.
Thank you.
How come you still haven't invited, with all your connections, you still haven't invited a fourth person to come to the podcast?
So hopefully season 3 we would love to have other guests on the show. I think it's always great to have a different perspective, a different angle to something that you've been talking about for the last 2 seasons. So I think season 3 would definitely see a lot of new faces featured.
Would you give my audience a sneak peek as to who these people will be?
We actually haven't thought of a list, but if
who's on your wish list?
The dream, honestly, I don't know if it's possible. The dream would be to have an Indra Nui. She's been somebody that I have really looked up to since I was a young girl. She's actually someone who has inspired me a lot in the way that she has been able to create a name for herself. Especially at that time for her in an industry that was very male dominated, and I think what she has accomplished, not just as a woman but even as an Indian, is incredibly inspiring. So she would be the dream. I don't know if that's something that would be possible.
I hope she's listening to this, and I hope she comes for
if
your
she's
podcast.
listening to this, then
this is your request.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about podcasts in general, right? Everybody, I think, today with a mic thinks that they can, just like me, everybody with a mic thinks that they can get on with a podcast. I'm going to show you what I think a podcast person looks like for me. this is, according to me, the anatomy of a perfect podcaster. That's a podcaster starter pack I have there. You have the sweatshirt, you have the mic, you have a cool drink which is either in a Stanley cup or it's a matcha, and then you have your iPhone. According to you, what does it take to be a perfect podcaster?
I think just a voice. I don't think that you need any of this. I don't think you need a fancy phone.
You don't need a Stanley cup with a cute pink bow
I
to
don't
be a
think you
podcaster.
need any of those things. I think you just need an opinion and a voice. And if you have those two things, I think you'd go very far in life.
Very well said. Okay. So how do you ensure, when you're doing podcasts and when you're doing brainstorming for the topics that you want to do, how do you ensure that you're talking about the right subjects, you're touching upon things that are relevant, and what's your research process like?
So, like I said, I read a lot, and I think the work that I do, has enabled me to have access to a lot of on-ground realities that I might not have otherwise had. So I think it's a lot of what I see on a daily basis that inspires me to talk about certain things. It's also things that we read about every day. It's also things that we, want in the future, an ideal vision for where we want to be as, a country or as an economy, and I think these are things that inspire me and spark a lot of ideas and questions in my head, which is where we then come to the podcast and how we discuss those on the podcast. So I think a lot of it comes from reading and also an everyday lived reality of the kind of people I get to meet on a daily basis through the work that I do.
And it is a popular medium, considering just today there was news of Ranveer Alabadia losing his YouTube channel where he runs a successful podcast platform to some hackers who've now put up videos of Trump and Tesla, in place of that. And that means that this is a powerful platform and the world is either too scared of it, and they do give...
I think the world is always scared of a strong voice and a strong opinion. But like I said, I think those are the only two things you need for a successful podcast or just success in life. And I'm glad that, younger people are looking at podcasts as a medium to voice their opinions and talk about things that should be talked about. So it's actually a great thing, and I see a lot of young upcoming podcasters in India who are increasingly, doing so well, not just in India but also internationally. And I think that gives me a lot of happiness.
Do you listen to any particular podcast? Do you have like your favorite podcasters in India?
So I actually am a big true crime kind of person. So there is a podcast called Desi Crime where they talk about like true crime stories. So that's something that I love listening to. It's
See, I knew you had a brat side.
I had a quirk somewhere, yes. So that's something that I love listening to, yeah.
So the last few incidents in the country, like the Abhaya incident, deeply traumatized women in this country, and you've been a champion of women empowerment for the longest time. I want to understand in your own way, how do you deal with subjects like that, especially in this country where everything you say is so sensitive and can be taken either way. How do you navigate these sensitive subjects?
Thank you for bringing that up. I think this is the correct platform to talk about something like that. And I think what happened is not a first. It's something that we've seen happen multiple times. And the reaction that we saw to what happened in Kolkata was outrage, like you said. It was horrific. And I think that there's a lot more that we need to do as a country, as women, as people, as members of this society. Of course, law enforcement and better safety protocols will do what they can, but it's very easy for us to sit and demand things. I think we have to be accountable, we have to be responsible. I think as members of this society and just as human beings, I think it is equally our responsibility to create safer spaces for women, not just at work, but even at home. And I think that we as members of this society have to play our part in doing that, both men and women. And having said that, I would want to underline this, very strongly, that women do deserve better. Women do deserve better. She deserved better, and I don't think that anyone or anybody should be able to override the agency and dignity of women.
Okay, very well said. So, what are the kind of things that you and your friends talk about? What are the kind of things that you're invested in? What's your WhatsApp chatter like? Is it all serious? Is it all fun? Is it a mix of everything?
I think people have this conception that young people talk about frivolous things, but I don't think that's the case.
Not after hearing this conversation. We don't think young people want to talk about frivolous things.
We have a lot of goals, we have a lot of dreams, not enough time to accomplish them. So what we talk about really is, how we can improve as individuals, how we can work on ourselves. Like you mentioned, we talk about the future of the world, the industry, that we're in. I have friends from across different industries. I have friends who are in the entertainment industry. I have friends who are in the business world. It's great to have conversations with like-minded individuals about where they see the country going, where they see the future of business going, and I think that's really what our conversations are about.
And what is coming up next for Navya? What is she looking forward to the most besides the grade A that I am manifesting for you?
I am looking forward to completing my MBA. I think that's something that is very exciting to me, and like I said, extremely grateful to be at the institution that I'm at. So looking forward to that, looking forward to doing more work that causes positive impact in the world today, and looking forward to having more conversations with you like this.
Okay, that is good. And before I wrap up this session, I just have a few quick questions for you. If you could take those for me, okay? Are you geared up? They're going to be very easy.
Okay.
It's going to be easier than the MBA, I promise.
Okay.
If you were stranded on an island, who would you rather be with, your mom or your grandmom?
I don't think I should answer that because I have to go home now, so I'll skip that one.
Are you a texter or a caller?
Caller.
Wow, that is rare because my team, who's full of Gen Zs, would rather I send them
I think I
snail
communicate
mail.
better when I'm speaking verbally, so I think it's quicker to get that message across.
Emily in Paris or Call Me Bay?
Sorry?
Emily in Paris or Call Me Bay?
Call me May.
Oh, sweet, okay. Where can we find you on a Saturday night?
In class, I have classes 6 to 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, so that's where you can find me.
Okay, so stay at home then or head for a party?
Stay at home.
Now, this is an important one, be very careful. The Delhi food scene or the Bombay food scene?
I think I'd rather not answer that one also. I have roots in both cities, and both have shaped who I am today, so it would be unfair to pick.
Okay then. And this one you have to pick one. Who would you want on your podcast from the two people, Ranveer Allahabadia or Ori?
I think both have their own podcast, so I don't know if they would agree to come, but I'd love to go on theirs. I don't know if they'd want to be on mine, but I'd love to go on theirs.
Thank you, Navya. It was an absolute pleasure chatting
Thank you
with
so much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.